Nick and Vanessa. What the hell happened? I feel like he might have been being a little ass bitch.
What kind of woman DMs a guy randomly and just says like, tell me about your kinks, and then you go into long ass detail?
Forgive me, mistress. Bash me, mistress. Welcome to another Love is Blind recap. It's wackadoodle time.
Whack-a-doodle time.
We are filming this on Halloween, so we decided to have a little fun and dress up. What are you dressed up as?
Well, I am a mechanic, but I also have a job tonight on Halloween for an agency party, so I'm photographing that. So I have my camera holster here. I am a photo mechanic, which is a niche camera software for any professional photographers out there.
Comment down below if you have ever heard of Photo Mechanic. I obviously have because of you, and I thought that was very cute and funny. I'm obviously the queen herself, Lisa Rinna, CEO of Rinna Beauty and former Real Housewife of Beverly Hills.
QVC host.
QVC host, duster, salesperson, mother, wife to Harry Hamlin, and overall impressive lady. Anyway, we are so excited to recap the shit show that was the Love is Blind reunion. I feel like every season going into the reunion, I am mentally prepared for Nick and Vanessa to not press anyone on anything or ask any questions that I want to be asked.
My biggest gripe is that they continue to bring back cast members from previous seasons that we don't give two shits about. You know,
Jessica from season 1? I'm sorry, let's not rewrite history. I remember during season 1, nobody fucking liked Jessica. But speaking of Nick and Vanessa not pressing people, I think we should start with Ramses and Marissa because they were the only plot point of the finale. Watching Marissa's experience, crying, sobbing, just pleading and begging, it was triggering. Honestly, for the girls, it was triggering.
I mean, the fact that he just kept reassuring, and then just pulls the rug underneath her. I mean,
I was waiting for Marissa's mom to pop out and cut his balls off like she promised. I mean, I'm glad she was at the reunion. She's someone who I was hoping to hear from. I just want to know, what was the final straw for Ramses? He's very vague. He says our energy was not matching, and something just happened one day where I was like, okay, absolutely no. What happened? Nick and Vanessa. What the hell happened?
Say something for real. Say you don't vibe with her jokes, her level of enthusiasm throughout the day. He seems very calm and mellowed. She seems very bright, and that works for a lot of people. If that doesn't work for you, Ramses, say it with your chest.
He was very sure to clarify that the contraceptive conversation did not play out how it looked.
Which I'm sure it did. I'm sure there is some producer magic going on there. That's not all that we're talking about here. I think for me, the bigger thing than that is simply the fact that, according to Marissa, your assurance, done. And supposedly right after meeting up with your family and friends, like they apparently got in your ear and you're like, yep, nope,
right.
I gotta get out.
And speaking of Marissa, I think we need to talk about Hannah and Nick because Marissa was riding for Hannah so hard during the reunion. I was shook.
Marissa came more for Nick than she came for Ramses.
I know, what is up with that? You know they're in a group chat together like this motherfucking. Yes.
I don't think Nick is necessarily absolved of his wrongdoing, but I don't think Hannah did anything to make herself come off any better. Her apologies were flat-faced and justifying herself because she's a truth teller. But I need to work on my delivery, but I'm gonna continue to say shit directly and poorly here at the reunion, clearly showing that you haven't learned anything, except you do look great.
Hannah looks amazing. But yes, that apology took a very long time to even get to, and it was so short in comparison to all of the, I'm direct, this is just how I am, this is just what I do, I just need to change the way that I say things. Like, yeah, you do need to change the way you say things, but you also, I think, need to directly, fully apologize to Nick and actually mean it. And change your behavior so that we all know that you are learning and growing.
It's not a thing against Nick per se, but I think that very quickly she lost respect for Nick because Nick wasn't as, independent as she was, let's say. And I think in a relationship, as soon as you lose respect, you lose the relationship. And she lost that early on, but she stayed in it for the show.
Thank you. And speaking of staying in it for the show, can we stop pretending that Nick trying to manifest followers or whatever from the show is some crazy thing? This is not season 2 of The Bachelor, okay? We know that people are going on reality TV to get followers. If you weren't interested in the followers aspect, you wouldn't go on a Netflix show. You would hire a fucking matchmaker or go to a speed dating event or stay on the apps or do whatever you're already doing. Let's not pretend that Marissa, who is coming for Nick so hard for not being on the show for the right reasons, hasn't been posting TikToks recapping the show, isn't giving her followers what they want from her, isn't doing interviews. She was just on the Vile Files. Like, girl.
Hannah, if you were so pure in your intentions on this, you would have broken up with Nick before you left Cabo.
Absolutely. After the duck.
All right, Nick, let's switch this around to you now, because I think you are being fake nice. You're, it's okay, I still love, Hannah, like, you're still a great person, like, it's all good, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's all coming out very performative. Like, I don't think that you actually necessarily think that. I do think that you are a nice person in that you don't want to be combative or get retribution in any way. Just be real. Just be like, yeah, it was emasculating. It kind of blew. It wasn't a fun relationship to be in. I didn't enjoy that. You're not showing us because I think you're so worried about how the public is going to perceive you.
That's it.
That you want to come off as the nice guy, but you're coming off as polite, but not nice.
You are not the nice guy that you're portraying. I know we don't know these people, okay? I feel a little like I'm getting a little fresh because of the wig. I don't know, I'm embodying Lisa Rinna when I just tell you, Nick, you need to fucking own it, okay? Own it. You called her a grenade, which is so 2006 Jersey Shore of you. I cannot believe that we're even using that term anymore. But you called her a grenade, you talk shit about her behind her back. Maybe if you would have been more upfront, like, honestly, yeah, you hurt me when you were constantly emasculating me and making me feel less than, to the point where I got bitter and I talked a little shit. Don't try to lie and say that you didn't say things that literally everyone heard you say. You're just gonna look like a fake ass bitch. And that's the worst thing you wanna be on a reality TV show.
Yeah. Speaking of fake, let's talk about the discrepancies about your little notebook. Your goals.
Which Hannah shared online.
Which Hannah did post after the reunion, and then she quickly deleted it because she probably got a bunch of hate from. But you said that you wrote that because the date stamp was 2 weeks before going on the show. You're saying that it was a 3-month goal planning session where you write the end of the 3 months date on there. If it's a 3-month goal, why do you have a line item in there that says you want to be in the best shape of your life in 2 weeks? I thought it was a 3-month goal, not a 2-week goal. So that doesn't line up. And if you're trying to be in the best shape of your life in 2 weeks, presumably something is happening in 2 weeks, like 2 weeks from the timestamp, which is you're going on the show.
Ooh, I think these people are becoming way too self-aware on these shows about how they're going to be portrayed. And that's why you get journal entries like, I'm going to be the most famous. How do I ensure that's going to happen? I'm going to self-produce. Speaking of self-producing, let's talk about Ashley and Tyler. See, this is how self-producing goes terribly wrong because Tyler tried to self-produce the kid's storyline and not share too much and lie to the audience and do all of this, ends up getting called out by the baby mama and called out by everyone online because there's photographic evidence of him with the kids after we saw him say that he doesn't think they knew what he looked like. You just have to go on the show knowing that you're gonna have to share your life and be open to critique and criticism, okay?
You are signing up for that.
You are signing up for that. The same way we are signing up for being seen on YouTube by filming and posting this video. It's just part of that deal, especially when your narrative is put in the hands of a production company. You have to understand that they're gonna tell whatever story they wanna tell.
And the more you try to hide it, it's kind of like an underage kid in high school trying to sneak out to go drinking. Like, you think you're being slick, you're not being slick. People are gonna find it.
You ain't slick.
You can't hide it from the sleuths of the internet.
The sleuths will find your kids in 2 seconds.
To me, their story doesn't really matter personally to me, because I think as long as Ashley stated that she knows all the information, she made the choice to get married to him and she's happy with him, that's all that matters. Like, all of these question marks we have are really derived from probably a producer's cut of misleading us into what those conversations between Tyler and Ashley really were.
I feel like a lot of people watched the reunion from what I'm seeing on TikTok and felt like they were being gaslit by Ashley and Tyler, and they were putting on a front like everything was okay when it actually wasn't, considering that her dad has just said that he found out about the kids very recently.
We don't know what Ashley's relationship with her father is.
We don't know if she's telling her dad her business. He was fake crying before taking her down the aisle and doing way too much. We don't know. if he is even like a trustworthy source.
Well, Ashley's mother was there, and she seemed fully on board with Tyler and the whole situation.
Yeah, that's true. Now that they're both on the same page and we're not hearing about their story through the producer's lens, I will take Ashley's word for it that she feels informed and knows what's going on. I still don't know what the full story is with Tyler and the baby's mother.
If he's involved in the kid's life, he's involved in the kid's life. Is he involved with them more than, say, like I'm involved in like my friends' kids' lives? Like
You're saying you're not coming from a place of judgment because he is a sperm donor and has a semi-relationship with the kids. But from a story reality TV perspective, if it's on the show, people are gonna care about it.
Right, I think my thing about our recap here is just or trying to find where people are being truthful, hidden, or whatever. At this point, the reunion to me cleared up their relationship, their conversation. There was no real hiding going on, and Ashley knows everything. Tyler told Ashley everything, and they're signing up for a life together, and they seem happy.
Next, let's get into Garrett and Taylor, the season's golden couple. I feel like they desperately needed one couple to have a good rap during this season, and it had to be Garrett and Taylor.
Clearly, Garrett couldn't handle the West Coast, so they're back on the East Coast.
In Fredericksburg. I feel like moving to Fredericksburg and not moving to San Diego kind of goes against every single thing that Garrett said to her throughout the season. So I just hope that she is not overly compensating and is going to ultimately not be happy not being near her parents. It seemed like that was really important to her.
It does seem, especially like raising their kids near her parents in San Diego where she wanted to be.
But Garrett felt the same way, and his family felt the same way too. They wanted to be near the grandkids, so.
You run into a real risk here of having some like regret and remorse towards like your partner for one not getting the other, and it's really hard having families on the other side of the country from each other.
It's true. That's their cross to bear, but I wanted to know why none of their storyline was really addressed during the reunion. They didn't talk about the texts. They didn't talk about him in the pods freaking out because she wouldn't say what race she was.
He wasn't freaking out.
He reacted very strangely to that.
Personally, I don't think that was a very strange reaction. I think she was being calculated because she wanted to keep her identity a secret. And
guess what? You're on Love is Blind.
But that's fine. That's literally the point of being on Love is Blind, is that your partner doesn't know what you look like or potentially your race.
Right.
So she was calculated in making sure that she wasn't telling him every detail, especially ones that would lead him to figure out what she might look like.
I don't think that was calculated of her. I think she was trying to move within the confines of the show, and when he got a glimpse that she might not be what he was envisioning, he reacted very strangely.
He said that it was calculated. I don't think calculated means necessarily a bad thing. I just think that she was being very cognizant of her words.
I think calculated has a very negative connotation. He had to make it known as soon as he found out that she was mixed that he has only dated white girls and that he's not prepared for this. And I think that's an interesting response.
I think based off of their chemistry that they are simply that compatible. And someone like him who is that smart, someone like her who is that smart, I think they need someone smart to be with. And I think that was the perfect match for each other. And I don't think that personally, from what I saw of him, that he would have reacted any differently if he thought that her race was anything other than Asian.
I feel like they've definitely crafted Garrett and Taylor as the angels and kind of glossed over a lot of their shit. And so I'm just a little hesitant to buy the producer narrative that Garrett is this perfect golden retriever, smart physicist guy who has never done anything wrong, and he just grew out his hair because he's always been interested in fashion and he just wants to care more about his looks for Taylor. I don't know if I'm really buying all of that necessarily. That being said, do I support them? Of course. They are the one successful couple, I guess two successful couples on the show. I just feel like we're not really getting the full story and we never will.
Maybe true, but she didn't take any credit. Taylor didn't take any credit for his glow up. But then again, there was a line in the show where Garrett exposes that she does not like his hair. And she says, I never said that. And he said, well, you've never said you liked my hair. So the only option that a man has in that situation is to grow out the hair a little bit. And that's what he did. He looks good with long hair.
Yes.
And I think I'm happy with what he does. I mean, I think we've seen some Instagram posts of him, having a little glow up era, a little time on a photo shoot set.
Love the magician outfit at the reunion.
Oh, solid. I think they look great together. I think they'll be happy together. I just think the only thing is going to be the location where they live. I hope that doesn't come between them.
Yes. And speaking of things coming between the couples, let's talk about Monica and Steven.
If I hear Steven say one more time, "You're right, I apologize, I was wrong," I am going to lose it.
Maybe he has like a humiliation kink. Forgive me, mistress. I fucked up again, mistress. Yes, bash me, mistress.
He doesn't do himself any justice by omitting truths when trying to give his truth, and then playing victim that no matter what he says, he comes off as, not being believable when you've given no reason for anyone to want to believe you. So let's jump into the
omissions and lies.
Omissions and lies. You're saying that this girl who texted you've never spoken to before, you don't know her. Okay, I understand you. I know people who I've met on Instagram as a photographer, but you're trying to say that you never spoke to this person. You're having these long ass talks and chats about fucking kinks. What kind of woman DMs a guy randomly and just says like, "Tell me about your kinks," and then you go into long ass detail?
Also, let's not pretend like he has the kind of job where you're networking through Instagram. He's an electrician. Yeah. So how are you, why are you even adding these random chicks? I mean, obviously there was something nefarious happening.
Maybe this was a woman whose house he worked on. Maybe she's a disgruntled wife who doesn't get attention from her husband and thought he looked cute and slid into his DMs. What a Hallmark movie.
What? No, that's not Hallmark. That's Desperate Housewives.
It's interesting that you have those types of connections in an Instagram that, you're not exactly trying to put yourself out there as some type of hunk on your Instagram from what I understand.
And he immediately got called out by Monica for his lies because obviously there was a paper trail or a digital trail, if you will, when she checked out his texts and saw that they'd been talking for much longer than that day. And then of course, right after that, he's like, "Well, yes, I mean, I've known her for like 10 years. You just said that you didn't know her."
These omissions just they get in the way of you trying to be truthful.
It's like Garrett's stupid lie. Yeah. Why are you lying about stupid shit that's easily disprovable? She saw the messages. She knows that you know this woman. Just tell the truth.
And don't act like this is not something that's probably burned in your brain. You know exactly what you told this person. You know exactly what happened because it led to this moment. This is something that burns into a person's brain that they randomly get reminded. They go, "I can't believe I did that."
When Monica first confronted him, she said that he was telling this girl, "You're the first person to really be open to and understand my kinks." So is it her reaching out about her kinks? Or are you talking about your kinks as well? The story is not matching up, Steven. What's not clicking, Steven? But shout out to Monica for calling him out for sending her parents, who he had never met, a letter just so he could bring it up on the reunion. I fully believe that is why he did that.
Very on point. You read that.
Team Monica.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to Tim and Alex. Tim and Alex.
And they got some real beef there.
They had not talked since their breakup, and it was evident.
But that was the best form of reunion type drama that I kind of want to see. I don't want to see the tail end of people who have already resolved their shit off camera.
Yeah.
I want to see the type of stuff like Real Housewives, where with Andy Cohen, right? Where they're just they just watched the live television. They just saw what the other people were saying about them behind their back, and now they're getting ready to hash it out on camera.
Absolutely. It did really feel very Real Housewives.
Yeah.
The reunion shed a new light on Tim. I feel like a lot of people going into the reunion were Team Tim, and then we saw how he railroads conversations, completely tries to misrepresent people and get his side out, and then when the other person wants to get their side out, he has a problem with that. There was definitely a lot that they had to cut out because he talked for maybe a couple minutes on the show, and then you see Alex say, "Can I talk now? You just talked for 10 minutes. Yeah. I'm sorry, you're talking for 10 minutes about this shit?
When it comes to Alex and her rationale for taking a nap at Tim's parents' house, totally rational now. We totally get it now. You have to work until 3 and you're going to the bar. You're with his parents all day. You just wanted an hour nap is what you said.
Not only with his parents, you're filming all day. So there's this whole crew and you're being told what to do and it's like such a big thing. Take a fucking nap before work, girl.
I get it. Working the night shift sucks, man.
Oh my God, especially after being up all day. Like, damn, now I understand why she naps. But he tried to completely misrepresent her and say, you just fell asleep. As soon as I left you with my parents, you fell asleep. And you were at the club the night before. No, she fucking wasn't.
Yeah, and he was trying to silence her when she was trying to correct that story because all of a sudden he's saying, oh no, like I meant like before we met your parents.
I'm sorry, we're not talking about that.
We're talking about meeting his parents, Tim's parents. And Alex wants to go ahead and, correct it that she was having dinner with him. They woke up the next morning. Something happened because they walked in together into Tim's house, met the parents off of the recliner, and then...
Not the recliner.
And then the whole, short interaction from what we saw happen.
You're shady, Tim. I mean, she had to cope with a lot of different things during this whole situation, especially like their fight on the honeymoon.
Mexico, yeah. Because Tim, you're making it... You said then that weren't being heard. That wasn't your moment to be heard then.
We don't give a fuck what you're saying. A little ass bitch.
She called you a little ass bitch because you're taking personally a moment in which she is having a hard time dealing with for herself. I understand you wanting to be there for your wife. You don't need to press on it. This isn't about you. Even if she lashes out at you in that moment while she's dealing with something, bring it the next day and say, that was a lot. Can you talk me through now what is happening and what happened last night? Because that wasn't like you.
It seemed like she was going through something personal. She'd been filming. Once again, we're in the situation where you don't have a lot of privacy. So you're going through this family situation where your dad's in rehab and whatnot, and you want to deal with it on your own. You want to take a shower, cry a little bit, and go to sleep. And this man is just trying to talk to you and trying to get it out of you and not leave you the fuck alone. I mean, I completely understand why she flipped out and called him a little ass bitch. I feel like he might have been being a little ass bitch.
Tim, your idea to walk away immediately after one conflict is problematic. That gives me a red flag that you're just ready to walk away from anything on the smallest little bit, which turns out to be the case. They just did not know how to deal with each other in a time of crisis, and that was one of those times, and he blew up and she kind of unleashed herself a little bit.
She lost it.
But she was still in it. The next morning, she was like, I'm still in this. And he's like, I'm ready to walk away. And I'm sorry, being so offended by being called a little ass bitch is so funny to me. To try and keep it hidden by saying she called me something other than my name. Being called a little ass bitch isn't the worst thing to be called when your partner is having a fucking meltdown. Yeah,
honestly, I would rather be called a little ass bitch than a loser or a freak.
Or having some super passive aggressive comment being made well, at least I have a job and my life is working out for me, right?
Little ass bitch is not that bad.
Little ass bitch is not a personal dig.
That was not a Hannah situation.
That's just an unleashing of aggression in a time in which she couldn't control her emotions.
Yeah, which is not right.
That's not right.
That's not right. But it's not the end of a relationship, in my opinion. Yeah.
But this is their first time hashing it out after all these events unfolded. It was raw. It was probably the most entertaining thing that we had on the reunion.
It was probably the most authentic part of the reunion, I feel.
Right, yeah.
And I wish that we had gotten more of that, but
instead we got 40 minutes of recaps of couples that we don't care about. That were
Did I need to see Jessica from season 1's wedding to her husband who wasn't from the show? Personally, I feel like I don't need to see that. Let's round it out with Leo and Britney. I am convinced that Leo got a horrible edit and is also someone who puts his foot in his mouth constantly. And when you are someone who is constantly saying the wrong shit and you're on TV and you're not in control of what they use and what they don't, I feel like you come across as an ass.
That is a producer's dream because they can mold you into whatever they want to mold you. So I'm curious to know how much wealth he actually has because he does not strike me as someone who has grown up in a wealthy household and lives a lavish lifestyle.
When you've always had money and you grew up wealthy, you're not constantly talking about how rich you are and constantly pointing out the Rolex because it's not that special of a thing. I think that money talks and wealth whispers. People with true wealth, it behooves them to keep their wealth more under wraps.
They dress in a way that doesn't scream, I have a bunch of money, but anybody who knows anything about fashion says that person dresses well. I think you would have come off much more wealthy if you had just downplayed the fact that you had a Rolex than constantly bringing up the Rolex.
Yes.
You saying all that stuff about the Rolex, and it's always the same Rolex in the pods. You didn't bring multiple Rolexes, so it sounds like
you only have one.
One Rolex for 20 grand, and you're like,
I'm gonna die on this hill forever.
I got a Rolex.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that Britney really covered his ass at first. When she was covering for him after they didn't go to Mexico and she was posting on social media, I thought that he had kind of like talked her into it, like he was trying to talk Hannah into speaking well of him. But I genuinely think that she just thought that he was kind of icky after they met and that he was a nice guy and she just wasn't feeling it, and that's just that.
I don't think she was ever fully into it. I think she said yes because she was too polite to say no. She didn't want the confrontation. I think she knew on the reveal that it wasn't gonna work out. She knew they weren't gonna go to Mexico, and she did say, like, you know, he was a comfort, it was an awkward experience, all this kind of stuff, but like, if you truly had a connection with somebody, I think that interaction would have been completely different. So it's all telling there.
Yeah, overall, I'm really glad that we didn't follow Leo and Britney's story. It was clear that they weren't gonna work out. All the best to both of them. I truly, after seeing Leo on TikTok, I think he got a bad edit. So overall, having watched many seasons of Love is Blind now, how do you feel like this season compared to the others? I feel like we're kind of getting over it a little bit.
It's getting over. I think peak for me was Chicago. Kyle and Sheena with, who's that guy that was super high energy that everyone thought he was doing coke the whole time?
Oh my God, Shane, Deep D, and Shay. The Chicago season might have been the best one actually, because that was so good. It was very much giving Married at First Sight,
it was
which
fantastic,
I loved.
but I think that all the parent meetings were super hilarious. I thought that they were like...
Shayna's family asking Kyle like,
are you a godly man?
I don't know what that is.
do you remember that?
Shayna took Kyle to a date at some restaurant, which it turns out that she was dating the guy who owned the restaurant. Like, that's hilarious to me.
It honestly was so good.
If I were to tell anyone that, you know, you gotta understand Love is Blind by going back and watching one season, it's Chicago.
It's that, for sure. I don't know. I feel like Love is Blind is definitely going downhill because people are going on the show hyper aware of the narratives that get pushed and the public backlash and all of that. I'm waiting for the ultimatum to come back.
I do think that that's on the verge, same thing, of just having too many people on there who are maybe giving ultimatums who don't need to be giving ultimatums, but they want to do it so they can be on
definitely.
the show.
There's no one on that show. I would say 80% of the people on the show are too young and have not been together long enough to be giving an ultimatum like that, but it's still very entertaining. I'm okay with the kitschiness, the trickery and all of that. I think that's fun and that's fine, but at a certain point it just gets way too obvious, and these people's lives are genuinely being ruined by going on this show, and it's not good. Well, this has been really fun recapping this with you.
What's the next show we're gonna do?
I think the next show we should do will be a surprise, but perhaps there's a little hint in this video as to what that show will be. I definitely want to keep doing the recaps though, because it's fun and it holds me accountable with the YouTube channel, to be honest. Hopefully this is entertaining. Comment down below with your opinions and let us know what you thought of the season and the reunion. Get ready to see us next time in the next recap, Sight Unseen.